Thank you very much for that very kind introduction. Esteemed speakers and distinguished participants, good morning. And I call you distinguished participants because you're all leaders from where you come from. And so this meeting is about leadership, and it's great to have you here with us. I was requested to give a keynote address, and I decided to do something different and just speak from my heart. Because one of the things that I have realized that over time, we have not been in touch with the ground. And a lot of times, we formalize things, but we need to get to the heart so that we transform our society. I like the title, Stories of Significance. And the reason I like the title, Stories of Significance, is because it decolonizes how we exchange knowledge. As Africans, we learned from those ahead of us through stories. And I think stories speak to us. When you see somebody who has made it, then you know it is possible. So Vincent, I think it's a really strong term to use, stories of significance. And I think that brand should go on. I'd like again to start with one of my favorite authors. And he says that since the shooters have learned to shoot without, and I'm sure you already know who I'm talking about, the Nigerian author. I'm hoping I will get to hear the name. I want to see whether you remember your literature. That since learned to shoot without failing, then the bird has learned to fly without perching. Who's the author? Chinua Achebe. And so what we can derive from this is that things are dynamic. That we need to ensure that every time as things change, we are also changing to meet the needs of the time. Another speaker, who's one of my favorite speakers, who's now the late Miles Monroe, talks about having foresights and talks about adding value to the communities that you're in. But can we add value if we do not have the value in us? And therefore, it's great that all of you came this morning so to have the value that then we can extend. I'd like just to share a story about 3 people who have made an impact in my life. Because the word legacy, the title is From Startup to Legacy. What does legacy mean? Legacy means having a lasting impact. That whichever space you're in, you are having a lasting. And over the last couple of years, I have begun reflecting on what my legacy is as an individual. But I draw inspiration from these 3 people. And I will use examples that are from corporate to just your day-to-day. The first person I met was Professor Kameri Mbote. At the time, she was Dr. Mbote. And she supervised my dissertation, and we ended up becoming good friends. And over time, she became a mentor. And one of the things she told me is that you must mentor other people to make yourself irrelevant. That if you're the only person who is doing what you're doing for the longest time and there aren't other people, then it means you're not leaving a legacy. And she said that you must ensure that every time there are 5 other people who can do the work that you do, you must do that. And so this is what she did. Every time she would have a meeting, sometimes she would just decide not to go and send me. And over time, I began exposing to international, fora, just because she made room for me. And as you've heard, currently running a program called Master of Arts in Women, Children and Nature Rights in Environmental Governance. It's a regional program, and we have students from Malawi, Zimbabwe and Kenya with faculty from Oslo, Malawi, Zimbabwe and Kenya. And she grant, and we got a really good grant. Students are all on scholarship. And then just when we were about to start the program, she got a job, and she's now the director of law at UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program. So one of the leading lawyers in the environmental space. And she was about to leave, but she has attracted this grant, and it's a huge grant. It's one of the big university grants. And she called the donors and said, I want to transition, but I have people I have mentored, and I'm sure they will carry the vision. And so we had to meet the donors, and the donors said, if she says she has mentored you, I'm sure you will do a good job. What is legacy? That she now doesn't even know what I do. She does not even to call to find out how things are going, because she knows she invested, and she knows that what she had already taught us is actually happening. So I'm here in Mombasa, University of Nairobi headquarters is in Nairobi. This is a program that's not a Mombasa program. And we do have people working in Nairobi. But we have been mentored that wherever we are able to coordinate. We have been mentored well. The second person that I'd like to speak about is my own mother. And I said stories bring things home. So we see it's not those people you see up there, it's your everyday person. So my mother was the Mothers Union coordinator. I don't know for those of you who are in the Anglican Church. So in charge of the national program for Mothers Union. And so when she joined the organization, she realized they did not have any resources whatsoever. They were relying on donors or calling people after Sunday service, please, njooni tuchange. And this was not sustainable. And she decided we must have a source of revenue. And this is somebody who is, your typical woman. But then she thought, what if we had a uniform that we'd insist that all our members wear, and then they would buy from headquarters? And so she sat and designed the Mothers Union uniform. So every time you see the Mothers Union wearing that uniform, it was designed by my mother. And this was not somebody who's, a professor or, this is somebody, just a woman like any other. And today, the Mothers Union headquarters has a revolving fund because every diocese, every church in Kenya has to order that uniform from headquarters. Legacy. So she's now retired, she's 75, but every time she walks around, she knows that the Mothers Union always has funds in it. The other person who really inspired me, and I think is a lasting legacy for probably many, Miles Munro. I discovered him when I was in high school, and I started listening to him, and the difference was that his message was that get out who you are and who you've been created to be. And his messages were not about prosperity. It was about developing character. And his argument was that once you identify, A, your gift, 2, you identify what people need and you meet their needs, you will never lack because you are meeting a need. But meeting needs is also informed by your gifting. So here I am today. I do what I do because it's within my gifting, right? If I were to try to do something else that's not within my gifting, I may not be able to meet those very needs. So Miles Munro today is the late. How many years? Quite a number of years. His messages are still as timely as they were when he was still alive. Legacy, a lasting impact. And so you're seated here and thinking about your space, and you probably think of influence. The truth is you are in a space of influence and you can desire and you actually can make a lasting impact. I'd like to close with another story. I work at the University of Nairobi, as I've said, and one of the people, whenever I'm asked to talk about efficiency or maybe I'm asked to talk about effectiveness, I remember, and my colleague Caro is here with me, I always remember of this one cleaner who is so efficient. And I remember when she first joined the university and I told her, when people come and see the university, it's how, the spaces. Is it clean when they go to the washrooms? What do they think? This is the university. That's how people judge us. And she feels such a part of the university. And every time she would see a space that's not proper, she would run and say, we have to do something. Even if we don't have resources, we have to find a way. She is so concerned. This is a cleaner. An outsourced cleaner. But when I'm asked to talk about motivation, to talk about attitude, to talk about effectiveness, and impact as well, because we have had accolades about the space a couple of times, that is a lasting impact. When students remember the University of Nairobi, they will remember her lasting impact. Legacy, my friends. So begin to think, what legacy would you like to leave? Thank you.